Hey there, Rachel Cook here, founder of The Yogipreneur, with a special weekend insight for you. So, I was reflecting this week on some of the amazing mentors I've had over the past 10 years since I've been working with entrepreneurs and small business owners. And I came across this notebook that I've been carrying with me since I completed my MBA, my master's in business, and was the assistant director for the Entrepreneurial Initiative. And when I was doing all of that great work, I had an amazing mentor, Marty Hackney, who was a former Olympic level athlete, as well as just an incredible entrepreneur who had a huge influence as to where I've gone in the past few years. So I was looking back at some of the things that we had talked about and nuggets of wisdom that she had shared with me, and something that I came across were these notes about how entrepreneurs are very much like athletes. So when you are an Olympic level athlete, they do a lot of work with you to optimize the way that your body is put together. They look at your rest and recovery. They look at the way your muscle structure is. They look at all these different pieces. And something they look at is, are you a sprinter athlete? So are you built for speed and huge bursts of energy? Or are you a marathoner athlete? So are you built for endurance and sustaining over the long term? So entrepreneurs fall into these two camps as well. There are sprinting entrepreneurs who are very project focused. They're very good at like huge bursts of energy to get through that startup phase or taking business to the next level. And then there are marathoner entrepreneurs. And these are the people who are really great at planning for the long term, doing the things day in, day out that need to get done to ensure that over the long term you have that nice, steady increase in your business and it's a sustainable business. So these are pieces that you need regardless of how you're naturally inclined, the way you're naturally kind of built to be an entrepreneur. You need a little bit of both of these. So let's talk about that. So marathon entrepreneurs are very much the slow and steady wins the race, right? They're the ones who have a nice consistent energy. They kind of get into their rhythm and they just keep going, doing the same things day in and day out to make sure that their business is sustainable, which is hugely, hugely important. We all need some of that marathon energy because we're hoping to have a business that is sustainable for the long term. The trouble that marathon entrepreneurs run into is when things happen that are outside of their realm of control, they don't necessarily have the energy or the natural inclination to just make shifts very quickly, which is really important when you look at today's business climate that we're in. The economy can change suddenly, things change suddenly, our clients change suddenly, technology is changing suddenly. So these are all things that those marathon entrepreneurs have a more difficult time adapting to. On the flip side of that, sprint entrepreneurs are people who are very project focused. They're able to move very quickly. When they get hit by inspiration, you kind of can't hold them back. They just go at it full steam ahead. They tend to get kind of obsessed with a new project. They very much tend to just go all out when they have something in front of them. And they can work at hugely high energy levels for very short time periods. So maybe a few weeks or a few months at a time. They can really put a ton of energy and focus on a specific thing. They like to see projects get done all the way to completion. The downside of this is sprint type of entrepreneurs, even though they can move fast at new opportunities and they have that kind of speed, they also tend to burn out quickly, and that's because they're not really optimized for over the long term. So for them, they really need to pull in some of what the marathoners know, which is to find that balance and find that recovery time. So I fall into the sprinting category. So I know that for me, when I get an idea, when I have something that I'm creating or I'm working on, I get kind of obsessed with it. I have a hard time turning my brain off, and I just want to devote a huge amount of energy to it. And the downside of this is I don't always give myself the recovery time that I need. And I find a lot of other people who are built similarly to me, they tend to have the same problem. So what do we tend to do? We tend to have so many ideas that we have project after project after project, and that tends to work against us. And we also tend to move from project to project to project, and we don't give ourselves recovery time. So you really need a little bit of both when you're building a business. You need a little bit of that sprinting energy because you need to be able to get your business up and running. And you also need to be able to handle things as they change suddenly. So if the economy is changing suddenly and maybe your customers aren't spending the money that they used to spend with you, you need to be able to have that ability to shift into sprint mode to make it through that period, to change what you need to change quickly so that your business can survive that type of thing. On the other hand, if you're needing to make sure that your business is around for a long time to come, you need to have that endurance. You need to make sure that you're doing the things day in and day out so that you constantly have people coming in the door, you're constantly building awareness. And you also need to make sure that you have the recovery time, which is so, so imperative. So I really want you to think about that. Are you a sprinter or are you a marathoner? And what are the pieces that you're needing to focus on right now to make sure that your business will sustain through whatever your current challenge is? What piece do you need to bring in there? Do you need some quick sprinting energy to bring business in the door? Or do you need to have the long-term sustainable plan so that you're not burning yourself out? I'd love to hear your feedback on this, so please make sure that you leave some comments in the section below. If you haven't gone over to theyogipreneur.com to get on the list, go ahead and head over there. You're going to get some great free training from me, as well as Mindful Marketing Mondays and Techie Thursdays delivered straight to your email box. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Namaste.